Hi everyone, Sandra here with Outside the Box Soaps. Today I am working on doing a swirl soap. I've tried this a few times and I've not been successful. So what's ended up happening was that my soap batter got too thick too quickly. So I'm not really sure because I'm pretty new to this. I'm not sure if it's the fragrances that are accelerating trace or something else that I'm doing. But today I'm going to try with 2, 4, 6 different colors and we'll see how this works out. So the colors I'm using, titanium dioxide, I have fizzy lemonade, electric bubblegum, neon bikini blue, and matte blue bayou. So those are my colors and they're mixed up in the cups because my fragrance is Aloha Waikiki. I wanted to have a bright and sort of beachy kind of feel to it when the colors are all mixed in. So I'm also doing a different process, and some of you may know this. I'm new to soap making, so when people talk about soaping at room temperature, I assume that means that they've left everything out till it's reached room temperature. But recently I found a blog where they talked about a room temperature method that was a little different. So I'm going to do this today, and I'm not sure if this is the best way to do swirls. It may not be, but we'll see what happens. So the room temperature method basically means that what you do is you add your lye water to your hard oils. And then you add your soft oils in. And it really helps a lot. You don't have to keep doing the temperature thing. I'm very impatient. I get very frustrated when I'm waiting for my lye water to cool down. And I can never seem to get both pots at the same temperature at the same time. So I'm going to do this now. This is my lye water. And I have my hard oils. So what we're using today are coconut, palm, canola, castor, olive, and sunflower. So here we go. I'm going to add the lye water, which is fresh. I've had it sitting here and it just cleared up. I'm also using the sieve just in case there are any chunks of lye water. We don't want those to end up in our beautiful soap. Now, what you want to do here is you want to allow that lye water to melt down your hard butters. And it's best to do something that I actually haven't done before I got started. If you break these butters down into smaller chunks, it's much easier for the lye water to do its job and to melt them down. So we're going to just crush it up. And what you can do when you have big chunks is what I'm doing now, which is really to press. You want to press those lumps up against the inside of your container and smush them down, so that helps them to get dissolved into the lye water. So while we're doing this, a couple of things. I've got a couple videos up, not very many. As I said, I'm pretty new to doing this. It's only been about a month, and I have watched a lot of YouTube videos on soaping. And so a couple things about outside the box soaps and my process. I really admire people who are doing this. They're very organized, they're very neat. Everything's always nice and clean. And unfortunately, it doesn't quite go that way for me. So I just do my thing, and it doesn't always look very pristine and clean as I'm doing the process. I start out that way, but I don't usually end up that way. So today may be a very good example of that, because I'm going to be pouring into these plastic cups to do my colorants. So you may see some of what I'm talking about. And I know that that can be real annoying for some people. People who are very structured and organized can really be upset about those of us who are not in our process. So I just want to say that up front. For me, this is how it works best, and maybe as I get better and I do this longer and I get more experience, then I won't be so sloppy and I'll be better able to do it without making such a mess. But for now, here's where we are. So it looks like I've accomplished my goal. All of the oils, the hard oils now, are where I need them to be. They're all melted, so I'm going to just tilt that a little bit so you can see. No more lumps and bumps. So the next thing I'm going to do is add in my liquid oils, my soft oils, and I'm going to pour them in over the stick blender so that we get a nice slow combination here. Make sure we get everything out of here. Okay, so I'm going to just burp the stick blender a little bit, and I am going to just stir. I get very nervous because, like I say, I tried this several times and everything got really thick on me. So I'm going to try to not make that happen today. So I'm going to stir. Then I'm going to give it just a couple pulses. And we want to make sure we get everything incorporated. And that we're at a thin trace. I want to try to be aware of those bubbles. Doesn't quite look like it's at trace yet. So I may be a little paranoid and I'm underdoing it. But once it gets thick, you can't go back. You can always blend it a little more. But once it's too thick, it is just too late to do anything about it. So okay, so it looks to me like everything is nicely incorporated here. And so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to start pouring some of these into my colorants and try to get those ready for pouring into the mold. So I'm going to start out with half full cups. I really don't know how much I need to put in each. Again, as I said, I'm not that planned out, well organized, wonderful person when it comes to doing this. It's a creative outlet for me, and sometimes trying to put all the structure around it takes away from the enjoyment for me of doing it. So I know there are people out there who understand that. Alright, so it looks like I made the right choice. I'm down to my last cup, and I've got just a little bit less of this color than I had of the others. So I'm going to try to scrape everything out. And see how that goes. So again, not hoping to not accelerate trace. I didn't put the fragrance oil in yet, so I'm going to just dribble some into these cups and try to divide it up evenly. It probably doesn't matter much because they're all going to be part of the same loaf and the same bar. So now my fragrance oil is in, and I'm going to give each a stir to get my colorant dissolved and also to get the fragrance oil in there. I, again, am hesitant to stick blend because I don't want to have another blobby mess when I'm trying to make, blobs are okay, but when I'm trying to make something that is a nice, pretty pattern, I don't want to have blobs happening. So, titanium dioxide here. And the fragrance does have some vanilla in it, so I don't know how white we're going to get. The next is my yellow, my fizzy lemonade coloring. Looking good so far. Not getting thick, not bunching up on me. This is electric bubblegum. Looking really nice. No fragrance incidents. This is the matte blue bayou that I'm mixing up now. And that's looking nice. And last but not least is the neon bikini blue, which is really sort of a teal color, and I like it. Okay, so my colorants are all mixed, and I'm now ready to pour. And I'm going to do, we've seen a couple of different methods for pouring with swirls. So I'm going to try one that sort of says to put lines in. So that's what we're going to do. So I know you can't see this because the mold is deep, but I'm going to start pouring some lines in here. And eventually, as it gets up higher to the top of the mold, I'll be able to show you, hopefully, by either zooming in or I'm not sure that I want to lift this mold at this point. So we'll figure out a way to get you to see what's happening. Now this has really clumped up on me. So I'm not quite sure what happened there. The only difference here is that there's a mica colorant in this particular cup. I used a pink mica. So actually they're all starting to freeze up. So let's just get them a little more liquefied and let's do it. Maybe I'm just not fast enough. Alright, that's my bubble gum. And here's my fizzy lemonade. But they're loosening up nicely, so I'm happy. Okay, so we'll go back to number 1. And hopefully, I'm hoping in the camera you can see that it is pouring out like a liquid should. This is the titanium dioxide one, which has kept its fluidity. And I apologize, this may be boring for those of you who are watching to sit there while I'm getting all these colorants in here. use our pink. This one is really disappointing me because it's plopping at this point. So I don't know what's going to happen to my swirl, given that this one really froze up, and that was the sparkle mica. Okay, so we've still got pouring action in the rest, and that is good. Just cleaning up the inside of the molds, some splashing going on there. Okay. It is interesting because I'm noticing that this is happening more with some colors than the others. So I don't know whether it's the colorant that's having an effect on here. If anybody does know, please leave me a comment, because I really would like to solve the dilemma. Like I said, some of them are still pretty fluid. They got a little chunky, but they're still pretty fluid. Now, again, this may have something to do with the process that I used. I'm not really sure, but I did want to share the process on the video, and since I was making the video with this particular batch, I did do it. Maybe the next time I won't. So I'm going to just pause until I can get the rest of this in. Big thick mess here. And let me just bang it down. And I will show you what this looks like. So it is one big thick mess. So what I decided that I'm going to do is, instead of using a skewer to try and swirl, I'm going to use this big fat plastic knife, and I'm going all the way down in, and I'm making S's, but I can see that it's not going to work because I can see what's going on in my pot, in my mold, and it is just not. It's moving the soap around and actually texturing it instead of swirling it. So this has been yet another failed experiment in my efforts to try and create a nice swirl soap. But we will go back, we'll do it the other way, and we are going to see what this bar comes out like. It's all about experimentation when you're learning. Okay, so I'm going to see what I can plop out of here and just put it on top. Try to get some, at least a texture or something to make this soap a little bit appealing. Yeah, it's really gone down the deep end here. But as I said, it's not all of the colors. So that leads me to think maybe it's the colorant, or because I put the fragrance in to the individual colors, maybe some got more fragrance than others, and it's actually the fragrance oil that's doing the nasty deed here. All right, so it is quite the mess. I'm actually even embarrassed to hold this up and show you it, but I will tilt it for you and let you see it. I'm gonna try to do some sculpting here. Never seen soap take on quite this texture before in my in my short career in soaping. Never seen it take on quite this kind of texture. So I'll do some swirling right down the center there. Don't want to muddle up all the colors. Going to grab my little glitter ball and see if we can make it a little more attractive. I've got some iridescent glitter in this bowl. And I also am going to grab for a second here, there's a Caribbean blue glitter that I have, and I think I'm going to just put a little bit of that on the top. And I will see, and take these off at this point because I can't get the package open with the gloves. Wow. And I really wanted that to be more subtle, but since it's a hot mess anyway, let's just cover it in Caribbean glitter. Again, once you put it in, you cannot take it back. So, for what it's worth, this is done. And I'll tilt it up so you can see what it looks like. I am not proud, folks, but we will check it out. I will definitely post when it's cut, and you can see what it actually how much of a disaster it turned into. Okay, so thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.